Just beyond the towering shadow of Everest, there lies a mountain that few talk about, and even fewer survive. Its name is Lhotse, a name that means South Peak in Tibetan. But don't let that gentle name fool you. Lhotse is anything but gentle. Where Everest draws the crowds and the glory, Lhotse waits in silence, colder, steeper, more unforgiving. It doesn't boast, it hunts. Every climber who steps foot on its icy flanks does so knowing that this mountain does not offer second chances. There's no room for mistakes. No warm welcome, just wind, ice, and the constant presence of death. In 1989, one of the world's greatest climbers, Jerzy Kukuczka, fell to his death here. His rope snapped like a thread. Others have vanished without a trace, swallowed by storms, or flung from cliffs on the mountain's monstrous south face. While Everest is the headline act, Lhotse is the deadly understudy, waiting in the wings with a stare that chills the soul. It is the fourth highest mountain on Earth, but maybe the most terrifying. This is Lhotse, and this is the story of Everest's deadly neighbor you should fear. Towering at 8,516 meters above sea level, Lhotse is the fourth highest mountain in the world. But unlike Everest, which stands proudly in the spotlight, Lhotse lurks just beside it, part of the same massif yet forgotten by many. Its summit is only 3 kilometers away from Everest's, and the two giants are connected by a high-altitude passage called the South Col, a wind-blasted saddle of ice and stone. But while Everest welcomes thousands of climbers each year, Lhotse remains a more selective beast. It doesn't just demand strength, it demands perfection. One wrong step on Lhotse's slopes, and you're not turning back. Its name, Lhotse, means South Peak, a nod to its position beside Everest. But in reality, it's not a sidekick. Lhotse has 4 distinct summits of its own. The main peak, Lhotse Middle, Lhotse Shar, and Lhotse Central 2. Each one a separate challenge, each one with its own price. In the mountaineering world, Lhotse is a legend whispered about, not shouted from rooftops. And perhaps that's what makes it even more intriguing. It doesn't seek attention. It doesn't need to. Those who know, they understand. Because climbing Lhotse is not just about reaching the top. It's about surviving the climb at all. Everest commands the world's gaze. It's the mountain of fame, of records, of bucket lists. But right next to it, sharing the same ridgeline, breathing the same thin air, stands Lhotse, cast into shadow by its more celebrated sibling. And yet, some climbers say that shadow is darker than anything Everest can offer. Climbers trekking toward Everest base camp pass beneath Lhotse's towering face without even realizing it. Its name is often left off the posters, forgotten in documentaries, ignored by headlines. But to the mountaineers who know the truth, Lhotse is not a footnote. It's a final exam. It's ironic, really. Everest and Lhotse share so much. The same approach through the Khumbu Icefall, the same South Col, the same death zone. For much of the climb, their paths are identical. But just after Camp 3, Everest turns left, and Lhotse turns right. That right turn, it changes everything. Where Everest offers a broad route, Lhotse forces climbers into a narrowing couloir, the rice couloir, like a funnel of ice, hemmed in by rock walls that echo with wind and fear. There's no room to pass, no space to rest, just a chute that leads straight up, and sometimes straight down into nothing. Lhotse has no fame to protect, no crowds to please. It's not Everest's rival, it's Everest's test, a mountain that asks, you've climbed the tallest, but are you ready for the most unforgiving? By the numbers, Lhotse is terrifying. It stands just 610 meters lower than Everest, yet sees a fraction of the climbers. By the end of 2008, fewer than 400 people had reached its summit, while Everest had already been conquered by thousands. But here's the chilling part. 20 of those who attempted Lhotse never made it back. The odds are clear. On Lhotse, every step comes at a greater risk. The path is steeper, the margins narrower, and the weather even more unforgiving. And then there's Lhotse Middle. For years, it held the grim title of the highest unclimbed named point on Earth. At 8,414 meters, it resisted every attempt until a Russian team finally conquered it in 2001. That's almost 50 years after the main summit was first reached. Lhotse Shar, one of its secondary peaks, is even deadlier, more avalanche-prone, more unpredictable. Climbers avoid it when they can, because to attempt Lhotse Shar is to dance on a knife's edge. And while the Rice Couloir, the final narrow chute to the main summit, may be short, it's notoriously treacherous. Climbers are exposed, exhausted, and moving through an icy funnel with no room to slip. One fall could mean a 1,000-meter descent, fast, unstoppable, fatal. Even the Lhotse Face, a wall that Everest climbers must ascend to reach Camp 3, is infamous. A steep blue wall of glacial ice rising nearly 1,200 meters. It has claimed lives, Sherpas, tourists, professionals. No one is immune, because Lhotse doesn't care who you are. It only cares whether you're ready. There are many deadly climbs in the Himalayas, but few strike fear into the hearts of elite climbers like the South Face of Lhotse. It's one of the steepest, most brutal walls on Earth, a vertical rise of more than 3,000 meters, almost entirely composed of rock, ice, and sheer terror. From base to summit, it's a monstrous slab that feels less like a mountain and more like a fortress daring you to approach. In 1989, Jerzy Kukuczka, the legendary Polish climber and the second man to summit all 14 8,000ers, attempted the South Face. His resume was unmatched, but Lhotse didn't care. Near the summit, Kukuczka's second-hand rope snapped. He fell to his death. His body was never recovered, just like that. One of history's greatest mountaineers was gone. He wasn't the first, and he wouldn't be the last. In 1980, French climber Nicolas Jaeger was last seen ascending Lhotse Shar. He disappeared into the thin air and never returned. His fate remains a mystery. Others have tried and failed. In 1975, Reinhold Messner, widely regarded as the greatest climber of all time, made an attempt on the South Face. Even he had to retreat. Years later, when asked about it, he simply said, "It's not a wall, it's a grave." Only a handful of climbers have ever reached the top via the South Face, and every one of them risked everything to do so. It's not just the gradient, it's the exposure, the avalanches, the rockfalls that come without warning, the lack of rescue possibilities. If something goes wrong here, you're alone, entirely. The South Face is not a route, it's a warning, a vertical tombstone carved into the side of the mountain, and it's waiting. Lhotse's silence is deceptive. It doesn't roar like Everest. It whispers, and then it strikes. In May 2007, experienced mountaineer and Everest summiteer Pemba Doma Sherpa was descending from Lhotse when she slipped and fell near 8,000 meters. The fall was catastrophic. Her death sent shockwaves through the Himalayan climbing community. 2 other Sherpas perished in the same season, caught in a deadly snowstorm. One moment, they were guiding clients toward their dream. The next, they were gone. In 2016, Ang Furba Sherpa, a high-altitude mountain worker, was fixing lines on the infamous Lhotse Face. He lost his footing, and just like that, vanished down the ice wall. No second chances, no rescue, just another soul claimed by the mountain. But not all the deaths come from accidents. Some are swallowed slowly, oxygen deprivation, frostbite, fatigue, hypoxia. In 1990, Slovenian climber Tomo Chasin claimed a solo ascent of Lhotse's South Face, a climb so fast and bold that many doubted it ever happened. The Soviet Himalayan expedition that followed called his story impossible. Even Reinhold Messner questioned the claim. Did he really summit, or did the mountain simply erase the truth? Lhotse doesn't need avalanches to kill. Sometimes it's the slow erosion of strength, the creeping cold, the thin air that suffocates even the strongest lungs. For 3 straight years, 2014, 2015, and 2016, not a single climber reached the summit. Earthquakes, avalanches, and political unrest shut down the mountain entirely, as if the peak itself had decided, enough. Lhotse doesn't leave headlines. It leaves scars, memorials, empty tents, radios that go silent. It's not as famous as Everest, but it's every bit as deadly, and far less forgiving. At first glance, Lhotse might look like just another icy Himalayan peak, but climb a little higher and you'll feel it. The shift in air, in temperature, in danger. Above 7,000 meters, everything changes. The oxygen levels drop to a third of what you breathe at sea level. Each step becomes a battle. Your body begins to break down, cells die, muscles weaken, thinking gets foggy. Up here, even breathing feels like drowning in slow motion. Then comes the wind, not a breeze, but a force that slices through down, suits like razors. On Lhotse's exposed upper slopes, gusts can reach over 100 kilometers per hour, turning the face into a frozen battleground. One misstep in these conditions, you're airborne. The temperature swings are brutal. In the sun, your face can burn. In the shade, your fingers can freeze in minutes. Storms roll in without warning, turning blue skies into whiteouts. Visibility vanishes, tracks disappear. It's like the mountain pulls a curtain over your eyes. And then, of course, there's the terrain. Crevasses split the glacier like deep, icy mouths. The Lhotse Face itself, a wall of hard, blue ice, rises over 1,100 vertical meters. Climbers must fix ropes, clip in, and haul themselves upward using jumars. There's no flat ground, no pause, just relentless, calf-burning incline. High above, the rice couloir waits, a narrow, icy chute to the summit. It's beautiful, it's deadly, and when you're inside it, the walls feel like they're closing in. Lhotse doesn't need to roar to kill. The wind does it for her. The ice, the silence, the slow, creeping cold that steals your breath and doesn't give it back. Lhotse doesn't just test climbers, it breaks them. This mountain demands more than strength, more than skill. It demands that you master your mind. Because up here, fear isn't just present, it's constant. Every ridge feels narrower, every breath shorter. And unlike Everest, where fixed routes are well-worn and heavily trafficked, Lhotse keeps its secrets. Climbers often underestimate it, thinking it's just Everest's neighbor. But Lhotse has its own rules. It throws ice falls, crevasses, and thin ridgelines at you like obstacles in a gauntlet. On summit day, the final push through the rice couloir feels endless. A steep, narrow chute that's as mentally exhausting as it is physically brutal. There's no room for error, no space to stop and recover. You keep moving, or you don't make it. Even elite mountaineers have been humbled here. In 1996, Anatoly Bakriev, already a legend for his role in rescuing climbers during the Everest disaster, climbed Lhotse without supplemental oxygen in just over 21 hours from base camp to summit. He made it, yes. But even for him, it was a grueling, lung-burning blur. Others have tried to tag both Everest and Lhotse in a single push. It sounds impressive, until you remember they're doing it in the death zone, where each step feels like walking underwater. With lead weights on your chest. Lhotse doesn't care how many mountains you've climbed. It doesn't care about your gear, your record, your followers. When you stand beneath its shadow, it strips all of that away. And what's left is just you. And whether you have what it takes to keep going. In the world of mountaineering, summiting Lhotse is already an elite achievement. But in 2018, 2 climbers took it a step further. Or rather, 1,000 steps down. Hillary Nelson and Jim Morrison didn't just climb Lhotse. They skied down from the summit. Yes, skied. From 8,516 meters. It was the first ski descent in history from the peak of Lhotse. A dream many had thought impossible. The terrain isn't just steep, it's razor-edged. The snow is unpredictable. The ice, unforgiving. One wrong carve and you're not tumbling. You're falling thousands of meters. They had waited for the perfect weather window, studied every contour of the rice couloir, and climbed with skis strapped to their backs. And when they reached the top, instead of taking in the view and turning back like everyone else, they clipped in. The footage is surreal. 2 tiny figures gliding down a narrow chute, carved into one of the most dangerous mountains on Earth. Every turn was a risk. Every movement had to be perfect. It wasn't just a feat of skill. It was a defiance of limits, of gravity, of fear, of the idea that some lines are simply uncrossable. They reached the base not just as mountaineers, but as pioneers. And in that moment, Lhotse wasn't just deadly, it was beautiful, it was art, and it was history. Lhotse doesn't crave attention. It doesn't bask in glory. It doesn't ask to be feared, but it demands to be respected. This mountain is the quiet sibling, the overlooked peak, the one that hides in Everest's shadow. And yet, to those who know, it's the mountain that truly separates the brave from the bold. Lhotse is not a place for fame seekers. It offers no easy path, no shortcuts, no guarantees. Where Everest has become a summit for selfies and sponsorships, Lhotse remains pure, raw, and brutally honest. You don't come here for attention. You come here to test who you really are. Its stories aren't always told, because the people who meet Lhotse often don't return. Or if they do, they carry a silence with them, a reverence, because they've looked into the eyes of a mountain that doesn't care about ambition, only survival. Lhotse isn't Everest's little brother, it's Everest's shadow. Colder, darker, sharper. You don't climb Lhotse to prove something to the world. You climb it to prove something to yourself. And if you're not ready, Lhotse will let you know. Now that you've seen what hides in Everest's shadow, the steep walls, the silent deaths, the untold stories, maybe you understand why Lhotse isn't just another peak. It's the unforgiving neighbor, the mountain that doesn't care about your dreams, only your preparation. The one that punishes arrogance and rewards only the most disciplined. So next time you hear someone talk about Everest, remember the one beside it. The one that waits quietly, the one that few dare to face, the one that kills in silence. This was Lhotse. If this story intrigued you, hit that like button. It helps more than you think. Subscribe for more true stories from Earth's deadliest peaks. And if there's a mountain you want us to cover next, drop it in the comments. Stay safe, stay curious, and always respect the mountains.